Hello and welcome to DDOCast episode 610, recorded live on Sunday, August 30th. I'm your host, Patrick. With me this week, we got a bunch of guys returning to the show. It's been a while for most of them. We'll start with Axel. Hello, sir.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, welcome back. We'll do kind of quick background stuff on a couple of you. You do a bunch of videos, kind of similar in vein of what we're going to do today, talking about the things as they come out.
Yeah, I do a lot of videos on YouTube, Axel's DDO channel. I talk about the game. I say a lot of things in front of camera.
That's great, because that's exactly what we're going to do today. We also have Vooduspyce coming back, who also does a bunch of videos. I think less in the vein of talking about what's going on and more in the vein of playing. But welcome back, sir.
Hey, everyone. Thank you.
And we also have Propane, who, last I checked, doesn't really have a Twitch online video presence.
We don't do any videos online. We have an active guild site. We run around Solana, but no videos yet. Maybe someday.
This week's screenshot: Dead Spider, Lejason, and Sejos pose as ghostly statues in the 487th screenshot of the week. Thanks for sending this in. A nice little shot of the market. Kind of where the harbor entrance is. We like to talk about Dungeons & Dragons online nearly every weekend. You can catch us through Twitch, YouTube, the DDO forums, iTunes, or from our website at DDOcast.com. DDOcast is hosted by Cyber Ears, the awesome podcast hosting network, and shows are usually available within a few days of recording, and the next show will probably be next weekend. Hey, next weekend is Labor Day weekend, I think. Congratulations, we've made it to Labor Day in the U.S., been a rough ride. Let's see. You can stay up to it by following us on our social media pages or our website, DDOcast.com, with our calendar. On the podcast this week, we're going to talk about Update 47 that came this week. The preview came, second preview. So we're going to talk about that and kind of take a look at that. Unfortunately, hopefully maybe during the show I'll figure out how to get these guys on camera, because that part of my stuff isn't working if you're watching the video. If you're just listening, you don't really care. But anyways, we're going to start with the news and then do the Update 47 Preview 2 stuff kind of on the back half as the topic discussion. So we'll start with the non-Update 47 Preview related news. And there was a question about challenges, specifically the Canis challenges, and bringing the level cap of those up. Right now, the House Canis challenges the epic ones have a max level of 25. The Evening Star ones have a max level of 30. There's a question about can we get those to go up? Steelstar said, resident challenge expert here, he can answer this one. We technically have most of the pieces they'd need to make them function at CR 35, but no higher than that. But we need a fair bit of QA time to ensure that those extra levels function as expected, much more than it would take to actually complete the change. Doing so would also take the 6th star and its associated favor away from everyone that's already earned it for those challenges, and they generally try to avoid altering things that would take favor away from people that have already earned it. So, plausible someday, but it would require a time commitment that isn't currently in the cards, which seems to be a recurring theme from the devs.
You know, if they'd update the loot, that if you'd had like a 24 or 25 version, then I'd be really excited about that, because a lot of that loot's pretty useful up to you get at the upper 20s into some of the set bonuses and stuff. But if they could do the loot, I definitely would be interested in giving that a run.
I think the biggest problem right now is that, the ingredients are nerfed if you do it over level. So let's say somebody's, just plays one toon or doesn't have like an epic level toon. All they have is a 30, and they want to go run some of those challenges for ingredients in House Caneth. They get practically no ingredients because they're running at 5 over level, since the maximum level for the Caneth challenges is 25.
Yep, that's one of the reasons I don't run them much. My character, I spend almost all my time on is at 30, and just can't get anything out of it.
If you could run it for ingredients at level 30, like it would, for example, be a good place to farm tokens out of, dungeon tokens that you need to reincarnate.
Yeah, that's definitely a thing. The Evening Star challenges, I kind of like, they're still pretty good for XP. But
Yes, they are.
you like other than sentient weapon food, I don't know that anyone really looks to them for gear. So that's kind of a thing there. The House Cannith ones, I mean, there's not really any gear there that I think anyone is really looking for these days. I think it's all pretty well outdated.
Yeah, the Ring of Stalker, I have on several
Yeah.
characters with double augment. That can get you to the mid to upper 20s, or at least I use it fairly often. That's probably my most common item out of there.
For heroics, there's still some relevant gear out of there. The Bracers of Wind is still pretty nice.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up because we just finished our gearing discussion, and we mentioned that a little bit. The thing that I kind of took away from what Steelstar was saying is like, taking away the 6-star, that's 1 point of favor per challenge. I mean, is that really that big of a deal? Like, just, I don't know. I feel like you can just take that out. It's fine. I don't think anyone's going to get really bent out of shape over losing 1 favor. Even there's what? 2,
You need that.
like maybe 6 in House Cannith. No, probably like 8. So lose maybe 10 favor. Is that really that big of a deal? Probably not.
You need that favor to unlock Artificer, though, right? I mean, how would that affect that?
No.
You need favor to unlock Artificer, but I don't think.
I think you have to go into the challenges. I think
You
if you
do.
get a lead on everything else, yeah.
You do, but if I remember correctly, you only need 2 or 3 stars a piece. So also, if you've already turned in the unlock for Artificer, I don't think that's going to disappear on you, right? Like,
Oh, I doubt it would. Yeah.
so I don't know. I think I appreciate the general idea of we don't want to take favor away from players. I don't think the 1 favor for the 6-star is going to make or break many, if anyone's, favor. So I think it would be okay. I think the benefits would outweigh the negatives in that case. Also,
It looks like
go ahead.
there's 126 favor from Quest, so yeah, you do need a little bit of challenge favor to unlock Artificer.
Yeah, it's not too bad though. That's how I unlocked Artificer back in the day. And I still don't actually own Artificer outside of that, much to my chagrin when I'm kind of messing around over on hardcore. But in any case, I think the big thing for me is like, can we have more challenges maybe? Like, I think I'd kind of like to see more challenges in the game. Like, they're kind of fun, mostly. But I think there's something different, right? And they're not big favor grinds, but they do pretty good in terms of XP and stuff. And I don't know.
I mean, if you're at the right level and haven't ran them before, if you got a
Yeah.
half hour to burn, it's a good option, especially if they're running like the 40% bonus like they were last week.
It also doesn't scale in the same way. Like if you're trying to get XP, right? Like going from elite or normal to hard to Reaper, everything's kind of the same. You get more mobs generally with more people, but other than that, I don't think it's really that big a deal, right? So, that was the big kind of newsy thing. Bonus days. This weekend has a buddy boost weekend, so you get 10% XP through today for every member in your party not in your raid group, other than yourself. Also, you get double Mysterious Remnants through September 6th. So that's kind of like an extra, also a long DDO bonus days boost there. So that's kind of fun. That's actually kind of one of my, other than XP boosts, I think the double Remnants is kind of my favorite bonus day. But the sales for the week, Monster Madness, you get 25% off of monster manuals, Slayer Boost, select pet certificates and tricks, companions, and pet renames through September 3rd. You can also get a Summon to Repair shop with the coupon code FIXMEUP. That's kind of a nice one for some of those folks who like to run stuff on High Skull Reapers. Because if you die a lot, you break a lot of stuff. It can be kind of nice to, every once in a while I'm sure Voodoo has never done this, where you start running a bunch of stuff on R10 and forget to repair in between, and suddenly stuff starts breaking and falling off.
Oh man. I don't even need to run a bunch of stuff, just a single quest.
Yeah, they could do it. The other thing we do want to mention, this is the final weekend to redeem the coupon code DDO Free Quests. You can get that once per account. You can put that in the DDO store. That's available to redeem through August 31st. So, if you are listening to this, and it's not after August 31st, unless you're driving or doing something really important, stop what you're doing, log in, put that code in. If you haven't done it already. That will get you all the content other than the expansions for free forever. Even if you're a VIP, please go put that in. There is no reason for anyone listening to this not to do this unless it's September 1st.
I even went yesterday and put it in for a second account that I never used. Like, just
Yeah.
may as well.
Yep.
No, I was thinking about even downloading Lotro, even though I never play it.
Yeah, I considered it, but decided I'm not. Lotro Free Quest is available for Lotro players. So if you think you
Yes.
might go and do that again, good thing to
Well,
do.
that's a really good point. I didn't even think of that. Thanks.
In addition to that, through the same time frame, for DDO, Menace the Underdark and Shadowfell Conspiracy are on sale for 99 points. So if you don't have that content, you can get that very cheaply. That is what? You get 25 favor for every 100, so 800 favor will get you that for free. So really good deal. Means you would, as of this point in time, be able to own everything other than Ravenloft and Sharn for less than 200 points. So go do that, please. Anyone want to take an over or under on how many people on the forums will go in there and say something effective? I didn't realize it was ending. Can I have one more day to put it in?
I'm sure there's going to be a couple, but
Oh,
you know,
with
they've
the
been so
internet?
they've said it so many times. They've been so clear about it. It's hard to imagine someone wouldn't have seen it by now.
Yeah, but there's internet issues in the world. The last minute's being jeopardized.
I think this is going to be a permanent thing, honestly. I think they just didn't want to commit to its permanency. I think they just wanted to test drive it. So I think it'll be back.
Maybe.
Yeah, I completely agree. Actually, I was thinking the same thing. I think they'll bring it back at some point, but you never know.
I mean, it definitely seems to have driven up the player base, at least in the short term. So, all right, we'll talk about community news. The 394th Chronicle. Again, final weekend to use the coupon code. The Orion Rating Discord is having a massive giveaway this weekend. They're doing a bunch of raffles. I think it's mostly done now because I think it started yesterday or Friday. But I did peruse it. They had a lot of bundles that they're raffling off, a lot of stuff they're giving away, which is pretty cool. Strim Tom took a look at Shifter, the Fey Dark Illusionist, and more on Lamannia. If you'd like to check out his take on a bunch of this stuff. The Brotherhood of Redemption on Sorlona recently hit level 160 and is accepting new members.
Yes.
That's it. This is Propane's Guild, right? The comment for the week. How much does 1 point of damage hurt?
The answer is 1.
A scratch or mosquito bite?
Yeah, I think for
Paper cut.
the average person, right? You know, an adventurer, I would imagine 1 point of damage they wouldn't even notice.
Thinking a good stub toe.
Ooh, that might be more than that. That hurts.
Yeah, have you ever stubbed your toe before? That's at least
Guess I'm
10 points of
I'm
damage.
thinking of what your level is, though. I mean, if you're first level, that's 10% of your life.
Yeah, I was going to say we have to take into account that if we're talking level 1, it's a lot more damage than level 30. So
I
it's
could be
more
level
significant.
2. Not sell ourselves short. We could be level 2s, but yeah. I kind of imagine like an adventure. I just my roommates and I have been going through my movie collection during the pandemic, as an activity to do that, to hang out with each other since there's not really a lot going on outside the house. I just rewatched the 8th Fast and Furious movie last night, and I imagine 1 point of damage is like The Rock getting hit with a rubber bullet in that movie because he just kind of ignores it and just kind of keeps going forward. See, fan site news. DDO Players has the latest news, so you can check out them. I was a guest on their show talking about the same stuff we're going to talk about today. We got another shout out for our final Gearing Up episode from last week. DDO Streams, your first stop to find DDO on Twitch. This week, Anket has misadventures and more. Alex and Lynn did Sunday questing, and Sigtrent invades your brain. Also on Twitch, Fumbles in Fame nears 30. Bell Navarre finds a trap. Caden has his first look at the game. And on YouTube, Samus Grobo reviewed Alchemist. Charles Tidd runs Reaper 8 Temple of Elemental Evil. I don't know why you would do that to yourself, but I hope you had fun.
Ouch, that's more than 1 point of damage, I suspect.
Yeah. And Ghost LP hosts a Let's Play of White Plume Mountain. What's the question there? Is it part 1 or part 2 or both? I imagine Zugget Moy on R8 is painful. Mickey has the rundown on her latest rating. You can find it, click there for a new blog post. And they also have some fan art by Mr. Champy this week, which was a pretty slick little thing if you want to check that out. And Cordovan previewed Shifter and more in this week's weekly Wednesday lunchtime live stream. That's pretty much the news there. Not a whole lot going on. We'll give shout outs to D&D Night on DDO Stream Sundays at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. So if you want to check some people out playing, mostly DDO people playing D&D, you can do that there. And also DDOCast on Wednesdays at 5:30 p.m. Pacific Time. You can find me and a couple people on Kyra playing and doing some random stuff. We're doing Stormhounds right now. We might do some more raiding after that, I think. Kind of running out of things we haven't done on DDOCast, because that's apparently been a thing for like 6 or 7 years now. That went fast. There you go. All right, we're going to transition into talking about the second preview for Update 47 that came out on Lamannia this week. It was open Wednesday through Friday, which is a little bit of a different time frame for them. Usually it's kind of more of a Tuesday to Thursday thing, but they weren't ready to go on Tuesday, it looked like. So a couple things about this. Character copies to Lamannia were not available for this preview, presumably because that had to do with world transfers in general being down. That would be my assumption there. The preview contained the following features, and we'll go into these more in detail. It had the new race Shifter, the new iconic race Razorclaw Shifter, new universal enhancement tree, the Feydark Illusionist, a new standalone dungeon, the Promise of Flame, and new named loot. This is the second preview, so the named loot was actually something that we saw in the first preview. However, the other stuff is all new. Coco Wajobo actually even kind of spoke to this as well. I think it's pretty clear at this point. Shifter, the new race, the iconic race, and the Universal Enhancement Tree are coming out with the Feywild expansion. And presumably will be available for pre-order in the not too distant future. They didn't commit to this, but that may come out with Update 47 in itself. At this point, it's close enough that it just makes sense for them to preview them both at the same time. They did not have the raids this time around. I presume that was because they wanted to focus more on the Shifter and the enhancement tree. Update 47 was delayed because of the server maintenance work being delayed by the server instability for a couple weeks back in the end of July. So that's kind of what's going on there. That's kind of what it looks like now. I'm kind of expecting the Feywild expansion to be at the same price point and same kind of 3-tier breakdown that Sharn and Ravenloft were. I'm guessing you guys are kind of all expecting the same.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. They've done the same, both Sharn and Ravenloft before.
Yeah.
That seems to be working reasonably well for them, so I don't see why they'd change.
And again, we've got the race, the iconic the universal enhancement tree, just like we did for Sharn and Ravenloft. So I think that's kind of what everyone's expecting here. The new release notes for this, they did some stuff with Warlock, the Ice Storm spell granted by Carcery, now correctly cast. Absolute Zero victims are now ethereal for purposes of movement for both players and monsters. They will also eventually shatter after several minutes. Called it. The reason why they're going to do that is because if you can just lock something in ice indefinitely, that tends to break respawn mechanics in places like raids. So, not really surprised there. The Druid spell Flameblade has been improved. We'll kind of talk about why that is later with the Feywild Illusionist. Barbarians in medium armor with Rage active no longer receive plus 10 PRR that was being granted erroneously. This is kind of one of the bigger ones. They removed an old implementation of Simple Thrown Expertise that was causing players with the feat to throw an extra unintended projectiles. Steelstar kind of went into a little bit more detail on this. This bug fix will fix characters using Simple Thrown Expertise to throw fewer projectiles after the fix goes live. This will cause DPS on throwers to go down the exact amount difference per character, as it was adding extra projectiles based on your dexterity or intelligence in the case of the alchemists with certain core enhancements. So he says, what was it supposed to be doing on live? When you're using a throwing dagger or dart, you gain double shot equal to your dexterity. What is it currently actually doing? Well, it's doing the double shot equal to your dexterity and also have a % chance equal to your dexterity score to throw an additional throwing dagger or dart, which is the unintended behavior. So that is what they're taking away. The unintended functionality in italics is being removed. Is the extra chance, and the feat will do exactly what the text currently says it does. Which I actually didn't realize that they had taken that out of the text. I remember that being part of it, but they apparently took that out, or intended to take it out, and didn't actually do that. That is going to have a pretty significant effect on throwers. I mean, we're looking at, depending on where your dexterity or intelligence was, I think you were looking at somewhere between 60 to 80% chance to throw another projectile. And if you were throwing, if that was your fourth projectile, that's essentially 25% damage, or reduction in damage. So, there's some, let's just say that there's people unhappy with that change.
I'm just looking for the forum post titled "The Death of Throwers." I'm not seeing it yet, but it's got to be there somewhere.
It was there, yeah.
Oh, I saw it.
Okay, I just knew it. I just knew it had to be there.
There was definitely at least one. This is gonna make throwers obsolete and unplayable and that kind of a thing. I don't think that's going to be true. But my kind of thinking on it is that, well, they're changing it to do what it says it's supposed to do, and it's where they want it to be. And the first step to balancing classes and stuff is get them to where you think that or where you are designing them to be, because when they're performing correctly, then you can actually go and balance them, right? Like, if they're broken, you can't balance them, because if you try to balance them while they're broken, then it gets more worse.
You're chasing your tail. Yeah.
So, yeah. There was a question in the chat of how would you know if you were getting that extra shot? It, I believe, shows up in the combat log. Although I have not been a thrower for really ever. So,
if you go look at the target dummy, you hit the button once, and I think you'll see how many go.
Yeah. All right, so that's what's going on there. They fixed a couple other things. Fury of the Wild. Sense Weakness no longer provides untyped damage on hit, and now instead provides a flat +1 damage per rank for a total of +3 damage. So what Fury of the Wild Sense Weakness does right now is, I'm going to get the numbers wrong, but it if the monster is at 75% health, you get like 1d8 worth of damage. And when it's at 50% health, you get another d something of damage, and when it's at 25% health, you get another d something of damage. They are changing this to flat 1 damage per rank. So if you take 3 ranks of it, you'll get 3 extra damage. And that is apparently going to apply to everything. Someone actually went and did the math and determined that this is actually a pretty significant boost in damage, because the extra dice of damage don't get affected by things like criticals or that kind of stuff, and it also doesn't apply over the whole course of a monster's life. I believe that this I'm not positive if this damage is going to only affect melee, the +3 or the +1 per rank or if it's going to be ranged as well. Currently, the extra dice only affect melees. Also, if you're running in Reaper, each of the extra, like if you think about your string of numbers when you're attacking something getting damage, each of those numbers gets reduced individually, right? So if that D8 isn't getting past that damage, it's actually providing nothing to you. But if it's in your first number, it will actually help benefit you there as well. The reason they're making this change is for performance issue reasons, so that the game doesn't have to calculate this extra dice of damage based on the hit points of the monster. That's what's going on.
As it makes sense, I can see that. It's a lot of calculations they're saving, both on the monster health and then the different dies, and then rolling it back in. So,
yeah, no, it is, and like I said, someone actually did the math, and I think it was before even considering criticals, it was like slightly ahead, in terms of how much damage you were getting as an damage doing with the +3 versus the extra dice. So it should actually end up being a buff, which is nice. Let's see. Spells. Dispel magic effects now reduce the CR of spell words by a much greater amount.
Yay.
wow, I didn't
That's
see
awesome.
this coming, and I'm really happy to see it.
Yeah.
Go buy a pile of scrolls now.
I believe. Voodoo, do you remember what it does off the top of your head right now?
Yeah, it's broken so that it like randomly increases or decreases it by like 1d4, and so you
Yeah,
can never
if you're
actually
lucky.
get it to
If you're
spell.
lucky.
Yeah, that's increasing is definitely not the intended behavior. What is
It's been broken since Reaper mode, by the way. It used to work.
right? But even when it worked, it wasn't very impressive, right? Like Dispel Magic was like 1d4 or something like that, and
It took a while.
yeah,
But there were times, that it was nice to be able to do that, even though it was slow. This is really a great change.
yeah. What it's going to do now is Dispel Magic will be 4 to 12 CR. Greater Dispel will be 10 to 30, and Mordekai's Disjunction will be 50. This kind of gives you another way of kind of dealing with spell wards.
It's a really nice quality of life change. I like to see them sprinkling these in here and there. So
it is. I'm gonna go out on a limb here and read between some lines. I think we're gonna see more spell wards in Feywild.
Stands to reason. That wouldn't surprise me at all.
I think because I'm trying to think, spell wards really don't show up in very many places. They're pretty common in Menace of the Underdark, in that whole area, especially with the Drow and Loth. They show up a few times in Shadowfell Conspiracy, but it's usually the ones that animate the crates around them, right? The breakables. I can't think of other
They're
places.
in High Road.
High Road? Okay, yeah, there's a few in High Road.
The last
I think
quest.
there are a few in Sharn. I think there's a few mixed in.
Can't think of any in Sharn, but doesn't mean they're not there. Anyways, I bet you we see more in Feywild, which I'm not a lore guy, but I feel like that seems reasonable, right? Like for there to be spell wards in the Feywild. Or they might just kind of use like fake spell wards and do something similar with them, right? owning multiple rage enhancements and feats no longer inherently makes all of your rage feats enhancement durations longer. Ah, shucks. I am, by the way, just reading the new release notes. I'm glossing over a few of them. Marshwalker set bonus now properly gives it 30% movement speed. Sovereign elixirs of hidden potential now have the correct description. I still haven't used one of those. I have one. Like, they gave us one for free, I think, and I have it, but I haven't used it for reasons I don't understand. Kenneth Crafting. Unbound water-breathing, featherfall, and death block shards no longer erroneously bind items to your character when applied. That's nice. Negative amplification, unbound crafting shards will no longer be created bound to account as well. Skull and Pumpkinhead potions are now markedly less eardrum-destroyingly loud. I'd kind of like them to also be easy to get rid of. Because I don't like stock up on the party pooper potions. And then occasionally someone will throw one later right as we're taking like a group picture. And,
Yeah, that's fair. You shouldn't have to go to the store to get it.
Yeah. The Cargo Bay Guild amenity now properly increases the quality of random loot rather than adjusting the minimum level. Perhaps the most popular release note that can be found this time around, mounts found via daily dice are now bound to account.
Yes.
Woohoo.
That's been a want for a long while. So let's see that finally get taken care of. The Raging Strength item mutation now grants strength while raging as described. Mini shields have had their dice W scalar and base dice increased in epic levels, so if you smack things with shields, it should be easier to do. And items of speed should no longer sometimes display the movement and speed values as 0. It's always kind of awkward. Let's see, they fixed some issues in the Keep on the Borderlands with giant crabs and in Quarantine. They also added dynamic map notes to Quarantine for enemies remaining in the plaza to help you find the things you need to kill. Although I find that to be less problematic than killing the mini-boss outside a room, breaking the quest progression. That was kind of always an issue. Druid's Curse, they fixed issues with certain kill objectives that would fail to operate if the monster in question was killed with ranged weapons before players move beyond a particular point in the quest. There's a theme here I'm seeing that we're being clever about killing monsters at range and not advancing the quest because we didn't move far enough forward. Yeah. NPC guards in Sharn Prison are now wearing Sharn armor. There is now a representative of Morgrave University in the Sharn Cliffside Tower District. Why? Like, does anyone...
I guess it ties into the expansion.
That's my guess. I mean, this one seems like really out of place, doesn't it? Like, what? Who is this? Why is this?
Yeah, they didn't give too many details.
No, and it seems a little strange to me that you would put access of the Feywild expansion in Sharn Cliffside. That doesn't seem like the most logical place to put it.
Would he maybe let you get to the raids? They're revamped.
Maybe? It wouldn't be a bad thing, I suppose. Yeah, I don't know, it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. A couple hardcore things. Death notices have returned to being an alert as opposed to DM text. Thank you. That's far less distracting. Logging in will now refresh your place on the leaderboard. We talked about this last time. The work that they did on the hardcore server for maintenance made it basically unpopulated the leaderboard. So you had to ping the system to get back on the leaderboard, which at the time, before this goes live, so probably most of the rest of the season, you have to go complete something to ping the favor system in order to get it to work, get yourself back on the leaderboard. There are some options that are fairly safe. The entry quest to Vaughn 3, the quest in the middle of Delaras that you just run in and talk to Delaras, 3.5 if you want to call it that. I think you can do it with the little entry area in the Reaver's Refuge, where you talk to the dragon, the dragon people to get to the Eerie Forest. That'll probably work. I think the Dragon Mark quest was also one that got thrown out. But after this, logging in will now refresh your place on the leaderboard in and of itself, so that should take care of that problem. Apparently, on hardcore level 15 iconic characters, will no longer receive extra copies of the iconic gear package on login. Can I maybe just suggest that you make it so we can actually just throw the whole package away, like not have to click on it and throw each item away individually? That might be helpful. The button used
That
to
would be nice.
yeah. The button used to modify legendary green steel items now specifies its use instead of incorrectly displaying it was used to augment items. People were consistently thinking that it was for augments. If you don't know, to use augments, you have to double click them to bring up the crafting window to apply them. Weapons with expirations, such as Druid's Flame Blades, now display those expirations visually in the correct location of the inventory details drop-down panel. There is a new Tressym, or the Tressym basket now has a new Tressym in it. So if you already have them all, once this update 47 goes live, you can get another one. So hey, if you do happen to get one between now and then, and you already have all the Tressym, you can probably hang on to that and then open it later. I imagine it will work. And there are also now commemorative plaques listing the top 100 Favor and Reaper experience quests or experience survivors of Hardcore Seasons 1 and 2 in the Hall of Heroes.
That's a nice touch.
Yeah.
Congrats to those folks.
Let's see. We are expecting a third preview of Update 47 in the near future, which will also contain the 3 legendary raids. It'll be kind of one more go of it. I would expect that preview to either be this coming week or the next week. And then I would expect Update 47 to land, like maybe there'll be a week in between, and then it'll land, or it might just be right after. I'm guessing 3 weeks. So there'll be either a week between Preview 2 and 3 or between Preview 3 and live. But 3 to 4 weeks, I think, is when we're expecting to get 47. I'm trying to remember how many updates were. What does anyone remember what Feywild's supposed to be update wise? Is it supposed to be 49?
48.
Is it supposed to be 48?
Yep.
Which means whatever they do with Night Revels will probably be a patch of 47. So that's coming up. 2 months?
1 month.
Yeah, it's
It's
almost September.
Yeah, that starts in October, like right at the beginning usually.
I kind of have this recollection that it tends to start like the week before Halloween and go to almost Thanksgiving.
I mean, there's
But-
Halloween stuff in stores for weeks already. It started here.
Yeah. Well, no, I haven't been to a store in a couple weeks. But, all right, so that's kind of the general release notes. So now we're going to kind of go into some of the specifics. And I think we'll start with Shifter. We're not going to, on the show now or later, go through all of the enhancements, but we'll give some of the highlights here. Shifters are a new basic Eberron race with notable lycanthropic ancestry. They cannot transform entirely into animals, but can shift parts of their bodies to be animal-like for short periods of time. In DDO, this shifting has similarities and statistical connections to raging. Not overly surprised by this. What are shifters meant to be good at? Depending on your sub-race selection, they could excel at defense and tanking or wisdom-based casting. The stats are going to be +2 dexterity, -2 intelligence. They will get a you pick a sub-race, and one is the Beasthide Shifter, the other is the Wild Hunt Shifter. Beasthide gives you an additional +1 con, so they are going to have a net +1 to a stat. And then they get a shifting, their shifter or shifting rage-like ability will grant a +4 rage bonus to armor class and constitution, a +2 morale bonus to fortitude, and a -2 to wisdom. And then it will last based on your constitution. This will share charges with the Barbarian's Rage feat, and anything else that grants bonuses while raging will be granted to this. So it's essentially going to kind of cross, all of them apply to each other. So if you have raging bonuses from Druid or Barbarian, are there others? That's it, isn't it? Might be some in the Bard War Chant tree, because I think they get a rage as well. But there's also the Wild Hunt Shifter, which gives a passive +1 to Wisdom, and it gives you a +4 rage bonus to Wisdom and Dexterity, +2 morale bonus to Will saves, and a -2 to Strength, and it lasts based on your Wisdom. And again, shares all the things with raging. Yeah, I'll throw out some highlights that I want to mention in the enhancement tree, and then we'll just kind of throw it out there for you guys. The tier 5 core allows you to regenerate 1 rage every 90 seconds. So that's I believe, the only way that you can regenerate rages, which will make a lot of people happy. It will also essentially make it so if you have that, you don't have to invest in extra rages or longer lasting rages, because if your rage lasts 20 minutes, or 20 minutes, if your rage lasts 2 minutes, then you're going to be regaining more rages than you're using. So that'll be kind of nice. There is there's some multi-selectors based on which one you're in. There is one of which in the tier 3 does allow you, if you're the wisdom-based raging, the Wild Hunt Shifter, you can cast while raging, so that will be helpful. Especially since there's supposed to be a wisdom-based rage caster who, until you take that, can't cast spells and rage at the same time. So that's going to be a little awkward.
You like in the cores how they have the multi-selector for the stats that
Yep.
let you have a little flexibility in building, so that's a nice.
The tier 4 kind of rage enhancer, depending on which one you're using. If you're the Beast Hide, which is the tanky one, you get plus 20% to threat generation and +5 to quality maximum hit points. If you are the Wild Hunt, you get lesser displacement and +3 dodge cap. So it's kind of a nice thing there. Although I feel like a +20% to threat generation is fairly meager, especially in light of not that long ago we had the pass where like everything got the threat generation bonuses got tripled. So +20 feels very tiny, especially for a tier 4 enhancement. Yeah, so what do you guys think about shifters? First look.
I'm enthusiastic to play it for my Ginger Spice Druid build, which is like a niche tanky caster. This is a really cool tree, and it's likely going to be my permanent race choice for that tune.
So I have to ask, are you going to go B-side shifter or Wild Hunt shifter?
Well, I always got to go against the grain, and I'm going to go the more caster focused one, but play it as a caster tank. So it won't be as tanky as the tank choice, but I occupy a weird in between space with that tune.
I think what I'm most interested in is the Howl of Terror tier 4. It's like a paralyzer ability. I'm wondering how good that's going to be. I didn't see them list the DC anywhere, but that could be awesome, depending on the DC.
My assumption is that spell is going to work just like the Warlock one, right?
I'm not sure.
And Druids also get that spell.
Oh, do they?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, didn't realize that.
Yeah, it's only usable in wild shape form or in animal form.
Yeah.
Maybe even
wolf?
I can't remember if it's wolf or bear or it's just wolf.
Yeah, it might just be wolf. My guess is the caster level will be based on your character level, which is fairly typical for racial spells. Presumably, it's going to be 10 plus your wisdom modifier plus whatever else you have, plus whatever level spell they consider it. So I don't think you're looking at a too big of a range in what you can get that DC to be.
Yeah, I wonder in the tier 3 has some of the augment summoning stuff, so I wonder if some people will pop over that to help with like Hound or some stuff temporarily, depending if they're gonna gear up a character just to be the charmer.
Yeah, I mean, but if you're gonna do that, I mean, won't you just go and grab like the one of the handful of items that has augment summoning on it? I think even like I think there's a necklace, the enchantment necklace in Ravenloft. I think even has augment summoning.
Good
So-
point.
I thought this was a weird add to this tree, the augment summoning. I don't really get it. And if they're gonna do that, why not add an improved augment summoning
Yeah, they
line
kind of went
or
halfway on
something
it either.
independent? Yeah.
Mm,
Go big or go home.
interesting, yeah.
And there's room in tier 4 for improved augment summoning or something after that.
They may not want
is
to
weird.
go too crazy with populating the tree, though. I think most races don't have a full tier 4 line, right? Like they have 2 or 3 things. I think ASMR only has 2. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. It's not going so well. Yeah, my kind of takeaway is like I feel like this race is gonna do just fine, particularly if you are already doing things that involve raging, or if you want to be a wisdom-based DC caster. I think this will help with that, because you're looking at getting +5 from your race to wisdom, if you include the +1 passive plus the +4 for your rage bonus. Plus you can get a couple more from the multi-select. I mean, you can pick 4 stats in your core line, which is fairly atypical, right? Like most races, you just get 1 stat. Maybe you can, other than human, you're getting maybe a choice of 2. This one gives you a choice of 4, which seems a little crazy to me.
It's nice low hanging fruit if you want to look.
Yeah. Well, speaking of look, did you guys take a look at how they look in game?
I
did.
not.
I went over to Lamannia on
They
what was
cool?
it, Thursday? Yeah, they basically for the look, they have the claws, right? So their hands are huge. They don't wear shoes, so kind of expect that. Some of the animations are really cool, particularly on the iconic. I guess we'll get to that later, but the howl animation looks pretty cool. I don't know if that's something that's existed for other classes, but it's really neat.
I have heard some. I have heard more people comment on how poorly the shifters look than on how cool they look. And I've seen a fair number of jokes relating to, kind of comparing them to the
Half elf?
no, say furries.
Oh.
I mean, I've seen people throw around like Thundercats or Teen Wolf, but
Yeah.
Who get that? I mean, it's a wolf, man. I mean, what are they gonna do? It's gonna look like Teen Wolf.
I can tell you, I am not sure which Arcot, who's been on the show a few times and has mentioned his dislike for how the tieflings look. I can't tell you which one he dislikes more at this point, the shifter or the tiefling. So, I don't know. The one shot I didn't look at him too closely, but the one shot I looked, it was kind of like, I don't know. I guess they look kind of like what I would expect them to look like if I thought about it. I don't think that necessarily means that I like what they look like, but that doesn't mean I dislike it either. So I'll withhold judgment till I do some racial lives of shifter, and we'll see what comes up in the random looks, right? All right, let's move on to the iconic Razor Claw Shifter. So this is a shifter that starts as Barbarian. They get a unique set of attack animations when using hand wraps. That animation is similar to monks, but not. Oh, by the way, I'll just mention shifters do count as animals naturally, so they can use Magic Fang, which the shifters get in their racial tree. The Razor Claw Shifter gets a +2 to Strength and a -2 to Intelligence. They get the exotic weapon proficiency with hand wraps. Their Razor Claw Shifting gives a passive +1 to Strength. The Rage is +4 to Strength and Dexterity. And a +2 morale bonus to Fortitude and a -2 penalty to Wisdom. And kind of the other stuff is normal for Raging. Yeah, the cores are actually, I think, exactly the same. There's, I don't know, this tree is very similar to the racial tree. But
Too similar.
they do get a up to a +3 attack with hand wraps, and while raging with hand wraps, they bypass piercing damage reduction. They do also have a tier 4. While shifting, they gain improved destruction and trip enemies for 2 seconds on a vorpal hit. However, your Razor Claw shifting will uncenter you, so you cannot use that with monk and be a monk at the same time, at least not effectively. Well, yeah, so what do you guys think of the Razor Claw shifter?
Seems a little more DPS focused. The pounce ability looks a little interesting.
Yeah, if you look at the animation for Pounce is really cool. You jump really far
Nice.
in the air with your character. It looks really neat. I did a YouTube video showing that off. But yeah, the main difference between this and the regular one, the base, is they get just an iconic rage ability instead of the choice between Beast Hunt or Wild Hunt. And yeah, they get some enhancements to fighting with hand wraps. But I guess the one complaint I have is it's very, very specific, especially some of these enhancements to fighting while raging with hand wraps. So it might be good for just a small niche of characters, but I don't know. I don't know how it's going to be for, like, for example, tier 2, it's like while raging with hand wraps.
Yep.
You bypass piercing DR.
So that's kind of interesting because my kind of initial reaction to this is a bit of disappointment because it doesn't have very much going on with hand wraps. It only has 2 enhancements that do hand wraps, +3 to attack, and then the bypass piercing DR while you're raging with hand wraps. Like I feel like it needs some hand wrap flair. That was kind of my takeaway. There was some comments, about that. Like, shouldn't there be more support for hand wraps? Monk levels get a lot of plus W as you go up in monks and in the Shinchao tree. Steelstar actually, I think, did a quick little write up that I think did a pretty fair job of showing why they're not putting a lot of extra power for hand wrap specifically in here. So we looked at so what you can get for Shinchao, you can get +3 W, +4 to hit and damage, +10% offhand chance, and +1 competence to crit range and multiplier. Then he kind of showed, Frenzied Berserker, you can get +30 melee power, 66 damage that scales with melee power, with a little bit of upkeep. The same +1 to crit multiplier on a 19-20, up to +25 damage from Storm Eye, +1 W from Raging Blows, and a +2 competence bonus to critical multiplier. And then he looked at Kensai, and you can get +8 to hit and +10 to damage, +20 melee power, +1 competence bonus to crit threat range and multiplier, improved destruction, 15% double strike and stuff. I'd say offhand strike is definitely lacking across of the locations, and they might be able to add that to the racial tree. But the overall intent is to open up hand wrap builds in a number of classes and archetypes not currently playable in, and the current iconics do that pretty well. I actually buy into what he's talking about. Like I don't think that initially I thought the tree might need some more support to kind of keep up with monks and hand wraps, but kind of that what he outlined I think does kind of show that they probably don't. But I still feel like if I play in this tree, and it's not something I can figure out in 3 days, right? Like I need to play it and whatever, but it feels like this in iconic tree needs a little bit of flair. So if I play a barbarian, it doesn't feel like I'm playing a barbarian who just uses hand wraps instead of great axe, or hand wraps instead of 2 picks or something like that. Like I feel like it needs some sort of hand wrap flair. Maybe not. And how to do that without increasing power is probably challenging, but I'd like to see something along those lines. I suggested something along the lines of like an attack that kind of gives you like slicing blow effects or something like that in here while you're shifting and using hand wraps. But it does sound like there's a couple things in here that they're really just in this enhancement tree because they were in the racial enhancement tree, and they might get swapped out for something else as well. So we'll kind of see where they go with that.
I was just thinking, I wonder if you could mix with Rogue and do an interesting quarterstaff build or a knife fighter. There's some possibilities here, but I think it need a little more time to play with the ideas.
Yeah, I think there's some opportunities here to do some interesting things. Like the shifting with the tripping enemies on 2 seconds on a verbal hit doesn't currently require you to be have hand wraps. It just requires you to be shifting. So, I kind of like that there's a lot of stuff in here that you don't have to be shifting and wearing hand wraps. But I also feel like there needs to be. You think about the ASMR Scourge, right? Like the whole left side of their tree is based on a select set of weapons.
I mean, you look, all the hand wraps are for what, pets, and then one class in the game.
Yeah, this will definitely open it up, right? Like you can do some. I'm sure there'll be some interesting things. But we'll see. Hopefully they'll add some flair of some kind. That's kind of what I'm hoping for.
How many people have a pile of hand wraps laying around and don't want to play a monk anymore? Now you get an option.
Yeah. I mean, being able to use hand wraps in medium or heavy armor will be attractive to a lot of people. Axel, you said that you looked at the animation a little bit for attacking with hand wraps. What did you think of that?
Yeah, I mean it's what you'd expect. Just I don't know how to describe it. I mean, I have a video of it on YouTube, but yeah, it's just claws scratching at you. I don't know how to describe it.
Sure.
But it looks all right. It's what you'd expect.
Just to kind of give an idea of how that's going to work, you don't have to be centered to use the Razor Claw Shifter's hand wrap attack animation. You use this style if you meet the following criteria. You're a Razor Claw Shifter, you have hand wraps equipped, and you are not centered with monk levels or centered with Grandmaster of Flowers. These are active destiny. Both of those will put you into the monk animations instead of the Razor Claw Shifter animations.
And I think, like I said earlier, the coolest animation that this race has is the pounce animation, which, like I said earlier, you kind of jump in an arc, sort of like you're using a Caneth Boots propulsion or something, but it's in an arc in the air. So it looks really neat.
Imagine it's going to function very similar to things like Dire Charge, Shield Rush.
Yeah, I would imagine so, except the animation is I said, it's a little different. You do an arc, kind of jump arc in the air instead of staying on the ground. You don't stay in the ground.
Sounds cool.
You do a jump.
That might be, that might tactically be a little fun. I wonder if you could go over things a little bit better versus, through.
I was wondering if you could hit your head on things. Like if you think of the Borderlands and how kind of small the caves
Well,
are.
now that I think about it, you do jump high enough to where you would hit the wall if you're just going through a normal door. So I don't know how that's going to work. If it's going to stop you, or if you're going to just go through the wall. I don't know.
You take 1 hit point of damage when you hit the top of the door.
That's what it'll feel like, bonking your head. All right, let's look at the Fey Dark Illusionist, which is the new universal enhancement tree. It's a universal casting tree that enhances your spell casting and allows you to create illusions to befuddle your enemies and summon a familiar to your side. Yes, you can have a familiar now. The familiar cannot fight or die and will not be targeted by monsters, much like the falconry bird. Fey Dark Illusionist does require the feat magical training in order to access. So that's kind of a new thing in terms of universal trees, to require a feat to get access to. Although magical training is auto-granted to most casting classes, except maybe Bard. Double check
I think you
that.
spend action points in Spell Singer. I think you get it. So I'm not sure if that's going to unlock it or not. I don't know if anyone tested that.
Probably. I would hope so. If it doesn't, I feel like they should fix that so it does.
That's interesting that they did that, because that's gonna, lock out people from sort of casually splashing into this to get some low-hanging fruit, like permanent shield, for example.
Yeah.
Or your paladins with the charisma coming up.
The familiars are a fox, an illusionary sprite, a pseudo dragon, a white cat, and a white tressum. They can. The third core allows them to cast Shadow Blades, which functionally looks to be very similar to Flame Blades. Which again now do both of those now scale. I saw a picture of like the level 29 version, and it looked pretty decent. It looked like an epic weapon at that level. So it's a bunch of scaling effects, right? Like either force or fire and stuff like that. They probably won't be super popular at endgame, I would say, just because, as it was pointed out, you can't put sentient gems in them, so you can't make them sentient weapons. You can, however, end up imbuing your weapons with shadow stuff, shadow blades. But they are naturally short swords made of force, and they use your charisma modifier for attack and damage. There's some kind of force power and illusion DCs in here. The core, or the capstone, is +2 to intelligence, wisdom, and charisma, and illusion DCs, as well as 20 force and universal spell power, for example. Voodoo, you mentioned some of the low-hanging fruit. What are you looking at here?
Well, what excites me the most is there's a permanent shield, and I'm losing track of where it is. I thought it was in tier 2.
Yep.
You've got, it's called You've Got My Back. Your familiar draws ambient and offensive magics to it, protecting you from magic missiles as if you had benefits of the shield spell. So you could, I'm assuming that's going to cost 2 action points, so that's 7 points invested into a universal tree to get permanent shield. That could be really nice for a lot of builds, but if you have to have magical training feat, yeah, it's gonna lock out, the non-casters from, grabbing that.
Well, like I think about like a lot of the casters probably already can do that, right? Alchemists and sorcerers and wizards can all cast shield.
But permanent shield is so yummy.
It is. I agree.
All those tanks out there right now that are, doing one level of wizard are going to be able to benefit from that permanent shield if they like.
Yeah, that's true. Very true. Anyone else got some stuff they want to call out here?
Well, the charisma to hit and damage, if you're going to go big or go home in there, that's going to help justify the cost of the feat if you need it.
It does mean that you can now, through universal enhancement trees, use intelligence, wisdom, or charisma to hit and damage. That'll be kind of nice.
Yeah, I think my initial reaction was I was surprised they're doing something with illusionists, just because there's not very many, and I think a lot of people have mentioned this. There's not hardly any illusion spells in the game that are offensive. I mean, you got PK and that's it. So if you're going to go with this, you're pretty much going to be reliant on what's in the tree. I know they mentioned they're going to include, I think, color spray in the spell books now, but
Yeah.
but I think that's an issue. I hope to see them put more illusion spells in the actual spell book.
I hope that that's what this means, is that there is going to be more support for illusionists, because we need to have, some, community favorites like Mirror Image, Phantasmal Forces, and then of course the King Weird, which is, if you don't know what Weird is in pen and paper, it's basically mass phantasmal killer.
Linabelle did say that she's not going to add mass PK to this tree, despite many people asking.
Well, hopefully it means
the
it's
tree would
coming in
be-
some other form, though.
Sure. No, yeah, Linabelle did comment on the lack of illusion spells in DDO, and he did say that it adds 3 new ones, which means we're going from 7 to 10, which I was like, yay! So illusion spells really need a lot of help. Think about it.
I was looking at some of this if it would somehow help Archmage, but it's still not enough.
There's not a lot. This tree feels a little weird, right? Like it feels like it's using illusions to make you a better fighter, right? Like it's not like offensive casting as much. Like you can get blur and the magic the shield. It does
But
give
your illusion DCs are going to be pretty huge with this.
They get a lot of bumps. You can where is it? It looks like they have a blade barrier SLA.
Mm-hmm.
Which that was kind of interesting. I'm trying to find it.
Back to fighting. If you're in your blade barrier, you kind of get the monk extra abilities for offense while you're inside of it too.
Yeah, Force in Tandem, your familiar now grants you plus 10 Force spell power, 10 universal power, and 5% Force absorption, and they're temporarily doubled if you cross the barrier of a ring of shadow blades, which is what looks like the blade barrier kind of thing.
It's a weird qualifier.
Yeah, isn't it? Propane's right though. Like Henshin monks have the thing where if you're in your little circle, you get bonuses, kind of, which is a little. It never really played very well to me, I thought. They do have the distract in Tier 3, which is kind of interesting. Your familiar appears at a targeted location, acting as a distraction and attracting the attention of monsters who may be searching for you in the area. It only successfully distracts monsters who are not actively attacking. And it can be used without breaking stealth or invisibility. So if you want to play the stealth game, that can help a lot. That also feels like something that's going to be, like, really buggy. Like, it's gonna be hard to use because think about all the spells that you're trying to like cache in this area. Like, when you're trying to cast a D-door in front of you, and it's like that's out of range. Like, what are you talking about? I'm looking at my feet. How is it out of range? How are my feet out of range? So, I think there's gonna be some issues there. Trying to find it where you can turn your weapons into shadow blades. There was a lot of feedback in this tree. So you can imbue with shadow is going to be the one. I think that might be adding this, but it will change your material type to force, so it makes it immune to rust and oozes, which will be nice. They become Shadow Blade type, so the improved Shadow Blade's enhancement works with it. And it will visually change the imbue type to force, so it gets a neat purple glow. There are 3 offensive illusion spells in the tree, all 3 of which will use illusion for their DCs. Some of that did change. Color Spray was added as a level 1 spell to Wizard, Sorcerer, Warlock, and Bard spellbooks. The Gnome Color Spray is being renamed to Greater Color Spray. Nothing is changing. The Fey Dark Illusionist Color Spray will be changed to Greater Color Spray as well, and will share a cooldown with the Gnome's Greater Color Spray SLA, and is trading places with the Conjurer Shadow Blades Core 3. Color Spray, the level 1 version, is being changed to no longer provide helpless damage, and the daze will actually be removed on damage. Now technically a different spell. They are adding Mage Armor in Tier 1 to replace Color Spray on the same cooldown channel as Deep Gnome. Improved Illusion in Tier 2 has had the passive component of +3 saves versus trap replaced with +15% missile deflection. That's pretty nice. Each core ability now in the tree now improves your familiars visually, as well as grants you +5 force and universal spell power. So your familiar will kind of grow a little bit as you go. They do have a free enlarge, which is going to go from Tier 5 into the core 18. Let's see. The familiar's reach in Tier 5 is now going to be replaced by a displacement SLA, so that'll be kind of nice as well. And the big interesting thing, I think, was the Core 20 will now have a passive and active. The spell power from that was kind of redone to go across the different cores. The active part of Core 20 is now a group enhanced displacement SLA that briefly gives all party members in the dungeon 95% concealment regardless of distance that lasts for 10 seconds and has a 3-minute cooldown. So that could get some play, I think. It's a lot of investment. You got to go into the level 20 core, which means you got to spend 41 points in the tree to get it.
And I see why they're bringing something out like that with a long cooldown. My first thought it'd have to be a minute to have that much uptime to justify it, maybe. But I'd much rather have them come out with a little underpowered and then turn it up as needed versus nerfing it later.
Where do you see that? I don't see that. I totally missed it.
It's added. That's in the feedback. That's not in the actual. It's not in the original one. It's pretty similar. Renegade Mastermaker actually has a Tier 20 ability that similarly gives everyone in your party the Radiant Force Field, the 95% damage reduction version for like 6 seconds. It's kind of similar to this. We'll see how well that goes. That might be enough to get like maybe one person in a raid if you're trying to really push the skulls kind of things. Someone might bring that 95% concealment for 10 seconds. Could make a big difference with a trash spawn kind of a thing. So, yeah, we'll see.
I was trying to think, like, even in DOJ where the boss goes nuclear, I don't know if that's enough to save the party. You're still going to get the damage.
No, because it's not going to do
Yeah.
something like that, because that's an area effect spell, not a...
Yeah. I'm trying to think of a similar event that the raid's coming and you got that short amount of incredible incoming damage that you could potentially help with.
I think you're looking at a trash spawn. So, like, if you're looking in raids, a place where a bunch of mobs spawn. So maybe in Killing Time on the islands when the bunch of Warforged or Devils pop out, right? Like, you could use it then. It's kind of the one that stands out the most. Something like that, I think, is where you're going to see the benefit from that. You might see it in normal questing, right? Like, if you run into an area which has a bunch of, is going to have a bunch of mobs, you can hit that as you go in.
Reaper Ape, Elemental Evil, you might have an opportunity to use it.
I'm sure you could find a place to use that every 3 minutes in there, yeah. So, what do you guys think about Fey Dark Illusionist?
I want to jump back to Distract for a moment, if I may.
Sure. Yeah.
Because I think that, we're saying maybe it's a little awkward, but I think this has the potential to be really powerful. I mean, right now, like even on my Druid, I'll take my Wolf and send it ahead to distract mobs. But if you're doing higher difficulty, that means your Wolf dies pretty much right away, and then the mobs turn to aggro on you. But this Familiar doesn't have hit points and cannot die. So the way that I envision it playing out is you approach a group of mobs, you haven't aggroed them yet, you send in your Familiar that cannot die. They all aggro on it. And now as a caster, you can just hang back and pick off those mobs one at a time at your leisure. That's pretty huge.
If it works that way.
You're thinking like
That's
a
the way I'm
remote
reading
target
it.
dummy. You look at the monk target dummy, which is that's a nice get out of jail free card sometime. If it works at all like that, I see your point there.
I was kind of anticipating it working more along the lines of, like if you throw a weapon, like a throwing weapon at the wall or something, and they kind of move to go investigate it, but then as soon as you come around the corner, they come after you if you're not sneaking still.
I think it's supposed to be similar to what the trap maker, the noise maker that rogues can make.
Sure. Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see how it works. I mean, I agree. If what Voodoo is saying, like if that's how it works, I think that could work really well for a lot of people. Sure. Hey, my kind of big takeaway from this tree is I don't think it's going to be anywhere near as popular as the other enhancement trees. Like it certainly doesn't look like it's going to compete very well with Inquisitive.
Not at all.
Or Falconry. I think both of those trees are quite a bit better than this tree. I think it'll be more niche, kind of more like Harper Agent. You don't really see very many people building a character that goes all the way up into Harper Agent, right? Like they just grab the intelligence to hit and damage and kind of boogie out. I think that's what you'll see more of here. The caveat with that is if that 95% displace clicky might get some traction in for some groups that are trying to push Reaper raids. Maybe.
If they come out with more support for illusionists in the future, though, this could become more popular.
I agree.
But it's still gonna pale in comparison, I think, to Falconry and Inquisitive.
They do kind of need more illusion spells, right? But
Mm-hmm.
there's a trick. Like if you look at D&D illusion spells, right? Like how do you manifest some of illusions into DDO? Right.
And
like,
paper pen, you got a lot more creativity to play with.
Uh-huh.
Where in the video game, you got it's a little more harder to be that creative.
Yeah, I agree. Hopefully they'll kind of figure some stuff out. There might be some possibly like using Shadow Blade kind of stuff. And hey, I'll just say like some of the stuff they added in this tree, right? Like Shadow Blades, like Blade Barrier, but with Shadow Blades. I mean, that could like just add something like that to the right to trees or to spellcasting. Seems like that would work pretty well.
Trying to think, could you build a wizard that you'd be pure wizard, Eldritch Knight, with little down dagger fighting, distract it, and then just come in and mow them up from the backside? I mean, you'd be a glass cannon, but
yeah, maybe. I am interested to see what people come up with, right? Like, someone out there is going to come up with something interesting with this, I think, but
no, that's something that's really cool about DDO. I mean, we may not come up with it, but somebody's going to do something, and we're going to be like, "Wow, is that clever?" Damn.
Yeah, I'm expecting that. Like, I don't really feel like I know enough about this tree yet to say how good it's going to be.
Let's see some other stuff that's coming. We did get a look at the new standalone dungeon, The Promise of Flame. It's located in the Searing Heights, which I think we kind of saw coming when they redid the Searing Heights a couple patches ago. It's a standalone dungeon for levels 6 and 27, which feels ish like a good spot, I suppose. 27's a good place to put another quest in. I'm not sure if 6 is where I would go in heroics. I feel like there's a lot of level 6s, but we'll see. I'm assuming this quest is going to be free.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I think I remember seeing something like that, right? Someone in the chat's mentioning that they got torn to pieces on a level 7, so see how that goes. I don't know. Is there anything people want to talk about with the quest other than hey, we're getting a quest?
I'm glad to see them adding something to Searing Heights.
Yeah.
I do like how with the updates they try to sprinkle in a little bit. You you got more mechanics sometimes, more building sometimes. You still get a quest here and there, so they're putting a little bit in each bucket, even though some buckets are getting more.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be interesting to see how it ties into expansion, like storyline wise. I assume that's why it's being put into the game.
I assumed it was going to be completely on its own.
Really?
It says standalone dungeon. I'm assuming it's going to be like Tower of Frost, right? Like it doesn't really relate to anything else in the game.
Okay, I thought it was in the same area as the Gatekeeper's quest.
No, it's in
Okay.
Searing Heights, which is the Explorer area next to the 12.
Oh, okay, yeah,
that
yeah. Okay.
Bargain of Blood is in, and that's it.
Oh, I misread that. I misread that totally. Okay. Yep, you're right.
Yeah, there wasn't really a lot of forum chatter about that one either. All right. Update 47 loot. So we got a new look at the update 47 loot. And I'm not gonna go through it a ton. It's less different than I thought it was going to be based on what Linnabelle had said. However, there is like the places where things really changed where the set bonuses got a lot of tweaking. Kind of all over the place with some of that. And then there's also a couple of new items. So we'll see how that goes. But I don't. There's a couple items in here that kind of stand out. There's a couple things that look kind of interesting. There's a set bonus that for monks that allows you to be surrounded by bees and then impose bees on your enemies. So that kind of looks fun and flavorful. Not entirely sure how far it's gonna go, but I like the flavor. Definitely.
Don't be a buzzkill. It's gonna be fun.
That was terrible. Yeah, so there's some fun things in there. You will be able to get both the Lorix and Levic set at the same time.
I saw that's an interesting option, and for like tanky divines, that could be pretty cool.
In case you're wondering, the Lorix set gives you 10% artifact bonus to positive and light and alignment spell critical chance, and plus 50 artifact bonus to positive and light and alignment spell power. The Levic set is plus 10% artifact bonus to armor class, plus 25 artifact bonus to PRR, and plus 75% artifact bonus to melee threat generation. There's a shield that has both of those on it, and then you can get the other two items elsewhere. So that's kind of nice. I think for me, there's a couple of like really great items that I think the Heart of Sulamanis is going to be really popular. An artifact that's a trinket artifact that's plus 5 quality constitution, plus 18 resistance, 31% enhancement or chaos absorption, and then you're also immune to curses, poison, and fear. Which last I heard, that includes the curse from Project Nemesis, which is very deadly. So that feels like an item a lot of people are going to be going after.
I wonder if it'll make you immune to the grip of Strahd.
If it does, they'll probably go back and fix that, but I don't know. Seems kind of strange to me that you'd be immune to the Project Nemesis curse as well, but, whatever. Things change, I guess. Yeah. There's one that's very similar to it. It's also a trinket and artifact, also has quality constitution 5. Seems kind of strange that they put that on 2 artifacts in the same slot. But
there's a lot of items here, looking forward, especially if you got a semi-mature gear set, there's a lot of juggling you can do.
But the other one will ward you against charms, poison, and petrification, which also has some nice uses. Yeah, I think if you have a mature gear set, though, I don't know how much of this you're really going to be going in on. I feel like you're probably pretty close already. But maybe. I think people might pick up one or two items, and the place that I think this will really shine is for people who don't have Sharn or Ravenloft, right? Like all of these sets conflict bonus type wise with the set bonuses you get from Sharn and Ravenloft. But if you don't have those expansions, this will give you an opportunity to get some similar gear and bonuses to those places.
I think too, with the way most of this gear is bound to account, those of us that run a ridiculous number of alts, the hand-me-down potential is pretty nice. If you get a nice set here, your Sharn or Ravenloft set can go to an alt, and that helps maintain those other characters reasonably well. So I kind of like how they've been over the last couple of years really allowing that.
I will say that I think there's a bunch of typos in here. Just if you start reading this, like the Fastidious Fabricator says that it gives a +10 artifact bonus to armor class and a +25% artifact bonus to MRR. I'm pretty sure they're not going to give you a 25% boost to your MRR.
Mm-hmm.
There's another one that said a 50% boost to your spell power. Pretty sure they're not giving us 50%. I'm pretty sure that's just supposed to be +50.
Yep.
But yeah, anything else anyone wants to call out they found interesting in the loot?
Not so much what was interesting, but a couple things. I don't think this is going to generate a lot of enthusiasm, which I'm kind of sad about. Being somebody who's been around since the day that like Vision of Destruction, Master Artificer, and Lord of Blades were endgame raids, and knowing the history of the items that came from those raids, I'd like to see the legendary versions be a little bit more significant. And I think there was an opportunity to push the envelope a little bit in the power of those items that come from here, because knowing that Feywild's coming out here in just a month or two after this, it's going to eclipse so much of this stuff anyways. So I think they could have gone a little bit more, knowing that, it's just going to have its day for a month or two, and then it's really going to be eclipsed. The next expansion's right around the corner. I also, from a flavor perspective, I really didn't like that they changed the name of the items instead of just saying, legendary Thorac Wraps or legendary Braces of the Glacier or legendary Tharn's Goggles. They changed the names to glacial bracers, and I can't remember them all. Why did you change the names of that stuff? That just doesn't sit right with me. And remembering what an item like Tharn's Goggles was back in the day, I mean, it's so good that you could potentially still wear those heroic goggles today, for upper heroics. I mean, it's not as great as it used to be, but knowing how great it used to be, I'd like to see that, and so many of those items from like Vision of Destruction, for example, I'd really like to see them occupy a special place for their legendary versions as well. And I don't think that they achieved that, and that makes me sad.
It was at least the Tharn. It's Tharn's True Goggles. It's kind of the same name, right? It's not legendary, but
that one's close. But the rest of them, like I said, instead of legendary Braces of the Glacier, it's legendary Avalanche Bracers or something like that, or it's just called Avalanche Bracers. Like, why did you change this? That just seems silly.
Yeah,
but what's in a name? Well, maybe I'm just getting sentimental.
I think that's okay though. Being sentimental is okay. We will say, kind of on the way out here, there's a bunch of alchemical weapons. Apparently, Linabel took some feedback and has created legendary alchemical crafting system. So it looks like not a lot of details yet. This was kind of it was like late last night, dropped on the forums. But it looks like we'll be able to have a little more flexibility about your alchemical weapons and what elements go on it.
That's cool.
Which I think will be really nice. I am not expecting it to be much more than pick your element. I don't expect it to be like pick 3 tiers worth of elements. But there's not any details there yet.
And I think that adds a little bit of fun to that. I appreciate the balance of trying to just drop the items versus having another crafting system, but it's more tinkering in my mind and building if you have a little bit of crafting mixed in. So I appreciate the extra effort. You can do it.
I will say I completely agree with what you're saying though, Voodoo. Like the last time when we got Lord of Blades and Master Artificer and House Cannith, that was hot stuff for a couple months, and then after that we got Menace of the Underdark and level cap increase to 25, and it was just a complete death nail to anything in that content, right? Like we stopped using. Maybe a couple the weapons lasted a little bit, but people stopped running the raid and getting the gear because they had caught in the web weapons and stuff. So it'd be a really shame to have that happen again, right?
Agreed.
All right. Anything else you guys want to say about Update 47 Preview 2?
I hope it was worth the wait. 2 months between Preview 1 and Preview 2 must be a new record for time between previews on Lamannia.
No kidding. Has it been 2 months? Wow.
Literally 2 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, that server challenge, I think that was a little curveball between that and COVID. I'm still happy with the progress they're making. I can't complain.
Right. Yeah, I was going to mention the servers.
I'm assuming they're also distracted with Hardcore 3 as well as Feywild expansion, but that was a long time between previews.
I don't know if it's hardcore as much, right? Because I feel like hardcore is kind of something that they're kind of firing and forgetting. Like I think the reason why we're going to keep seeing hardcore is because they don't tend to need a lot of investment to get a lot of return for it. So I'm not so sure if hardcore, but definitely right, like the server instability definitely threw them for a loop. I'm guessing the Wayfinder rollback cost them a couple of days too. So it is nice to see Preview 2 land finally. But yeah. All right. Well, let's close out the show. Voodoo, would you like to plug your stuff, sir?
You can find me over on YouTube on channel Vooduspyce, where you can find over 900 DDO videos, quest walkthroughs, raid guides, crafting tutorials, and much more. And you can find me live streaming on Twitch. Also, channel Vooduspyce, live streaming nearly every day.
Only 900. Let me know when you get to 1,000, then we'll be impressed.
I'm not too terribly far from it.
Gotta get that fourth digit, man. Come on.
Hell yeah.
Axel?
Yeah, I have a DDO YouTube channel as well. Axel's DDO channel on YouTube. Like I mentioned before, I did a video recently showing off the shifters. So if you want to check that out, it's there.
Oh, I want to give props to Axel. You passed me on subscribers. Nice job, buddy.
Oh, sorry. I did notice. We're still really close.
Propane, anything you want to plug there?
Well, just if anyone's coming back, especially from hardcore from the summer, looking for a home on Solorna, take a look us up, Brotherhood of Redemption.
Well, thanks guys for joining me today. It was fun to get you all back on the show. I know it's been a while. And thanks to all the other contributors for DDOCast, and to Standing Stone Games, Wizard of the Coast, and the Cybears for hosting the podcast. If you'd like to support the show, you can visit our website, DDOcast.com, or you can support us on Patreon. If you have a DDO-themed webpage or you Twitch DDO and you'd like to be featured on our website, you can email us at DDOcast@gmail.com. And you can hit us up at DDOcast.com for show notes, MP3s, our calendar, previous shows, and other fun stuff. If you'd like to be a part of the show or have a comment on this episode, a question you'd like to hear us answer, or a topic you'd like to hear us discuss, or you just want to say hi, you can leave a comment or you can email us at DDOcast@gmail.com. And you can also find us on social media and follow us for latest cast updates at DDOcast on Twitter. May all your attack rolls be crits, all your chest level appropriate, have fun, and don't forget to gather for buffs.